Catch episode number 8, guys. I'm going to tell you guys straight up, I made a mistake. So typically what ends up happening is I watch a show, right? I'm watching, in this case, I was watching Always a Catch. Typically what happens is I watch the show, maybe 5 minutes go by. You know, I try and gather my thoughts. I'm like, okay, I'm going to start the video this way, or here's kind of the 1 or 2, maybe 3. I usually try to limit it to 2 points. Because if, you know, unless you're taking physical notes, which I don't recommend anybody to do, because what happens is I used to take notes. I used to do physical notes and I would bullet, but then I'd be pausing the show constantly and I wouldn't really be enjoying the show. So I threw away notes and I was like, I'm just going to keep it in my mental. So I try and keep it to 1 or 2, maybe 3, but usually 1 or 2 things I'm really trying to hit on with that episode, whether those are 1 or 2 things I really liked, maybe 1 thing I liked, 1 thing I hated. And then, you know, I kind of let the rest of the video flow. If you guys ever know if you have been witness to my formatting, then this is kind of the flow that I typically have. Now, with that being said, I made the mistake today with Always a Catch is my time got away. I watched Always a Catch on my lunch break today at work, which again, I try and avoid doing, but I was on lunch break. I wasn't eating. So I watched the episode and then I went back to work and then now I'm here after work and I'm recording the video. What that did though, is it allowed me to go, what the fuck happened? And I was like, yo, the episode was so non-memorable that I was like, I'm gonna record it. I'm just gonna tell him like, hey, this is how little this episode mattered, and that's how boring it was. I was like, what the fuck happened? So with that being said, I do remember what happened in this episode, right? Like halfway through the episode, we go in and Renato and Maria, specifically Renato and his attendant are you know, it's the aftermath of the whole girl got kidnapped stuff. Now they're in town. They go to a touristy part of the kingdom of the city and they go on a date, and Renato is basically dressed down to appear not as a prince, and him and Maria end up, and the attendant who's kind of watching them, they end up having a date. They go through the stalls and then they end up at the city, which there's a festival going on. And they participate in like fair games, and in the fair games, they really show off and have a really fun time together. And then it ends up with Renato kind of spilling his guts at the end of like, you know, before we actually go through with this thing, marriage, etc. Renato gives Maria one last chance of like, this is what you're gonna be able to expect in life by being a crown princess. Are you sure this is what you want, right? And first off, you know, even though I will admit it was cute but boring, I just gotta tell you, I gotta be straight. I gotta be honest. I can't just glaze stuff, guys. I just can't do it. It was cute. It was a cute date. It was boring though. So I do like though that he was a man and he stepped up and he's like, you know, these are the things that you can expect from being a crown princess, right? Like here's the troubles that you're gonna have. People are going to hate you. You know, people are gonna, you know, always be out for you and not in a good way. You know, you're gonna have to attend parties with me. You're gonna have to be fake. You're gonna have a lot of responsibility. You're gonna be the lady of the house, you know, and of the land, right? My decisions are gonna affect you, yada yada. So he goes on a whole little monologue, and Maria comes back and she reassures him like, I've been trading for this. I am ready for this. I understand what comes with it. I understand the criticisms. He was like, but I love you and I am in. And then they almost share a kiss. And then, you know, their attendant comes in and ruins it like, not yet, buddy. You got to hold off on those, you know, you got to hold your cojones in. And then the episode ends. Okay. So I thought that was, you know, I thought the end specifically, I thought was really, really cute. So I really did enjoy the end. I thought it was really cute. Now rewind a little bit back from that. You know, before the festival starts, they put an end or a kibosh to the kidnapping, and the 2 people you know, the girl that got kidnapped and the father and everything, they figured all that stuff out, and then she is able to get her father's blessing as well, and they're basically happily ever after, essentially, right? Or the beginning of happily ever after. All that stuff again was cute, but it was super forgettable. And I had to really go back and kind of scroll through like, oh yeah, that happened. Oh yeah, that happened. And when a show you know, I think when a show has staying power, this morning before this morning before I logged into work, I watched the 𝐒𝐡𝐚𝐧𝐬𝐭, right? Because 𝐒𝐡𝐚𝐧𝐬𝐭 came out early this morning. So I watched 𝐒𝐡𝐚𝐧𝐬𝐭. I can tell you everything that happened in that episode. That's how, and that was hours ago, right? I can go off and be like, yo, they swapped seats, the festival started, you know, this character and this character were teasing the MC about this. This is the moment that happened with this. This is what happened with this. And I watched that probably 4 or 5 hours ago already. Maybe 6 hours ago. I don't even know what time is it right now. I watched that like 8 hours ago already. I don't know. I watched it hours ago though. So it's like one of those things where it's like, that's how much staying power, that's how much the episode was entertaining and fun and mattered. But then an episode to where like, oh, I watched this, you know, an hour ago. What happened? You know what I mean? So anyways, with that being said, I think this episode was 6 out of 10. Again, 6 is not bad. By the way, 6 is fine. It was a fine episode. It was cute. You know, all of those points, all the cute points, it got accumulated to 6, but not really past that for me. So 6 out of 10 is where I land with this episode this week. All right. Peace out.